is Liz with We Love Dates. Today I'm going to answer a reader question. A reader wrote in and wanted to know how to handle it when your boyfriend cheats on you. She says she's very upset and also very mad, which is completely understandable because being cheated on is pretty much like one of the worst things ever. Speaking from experience, it sucks, and it is harder than a normal breakup because you feel betrayed and lied to, and there's just so many different emotions that it can be very overwhelming. So
fuck up for the 50th billionth time if you'd fucking listen. Can you shut the fuck up for a second too? Rape accusations discredit rape victims, which reinforces rape culture, which is part of patriarchy. The idea of certain people are inherently more valuable than other people because of superficial physical attributes is part of patriarchy. The idea that men should coddle and provide for women and or purchase their affections in romantic context is condescending and damaging and part of patriarchy. I'm reading, fuckface. The fact that women have long been shut out of dangerous industrial jobs by men, by the way, is part of patriarchy. The idea that women are too weak to fight or too delicate to function in a military setting is part of patriarchy. Is part of patriarchy. Part of patriarchy. I don't know if you're noticing a theme. Patriarchy. Anyways, I'm not done. Not done. Shut the fuck up. Feminists do not want you.
You've been lied to by every man you've ever met, every man you've ever dated, every man you've ever fallen in love with or trusted with your heart. No matter how old you are, no matter how lucky or unlucky you've been in love, men you loved or still love, men you adored, men you trusted with everything, have looked you in your eyes, smiled at you, and lied to you about everything, about what he wants, about how he feels about you, about what he's thinking, what he desires. And if you're like most women, it's driven you crazy. It's kept you up at night. It's pushed you to tears as you wonder, why? Why can't he just tell you the truth? Why can't he just love you? Why can't he just be that man you've wanted for so long, that lover, that friend who you've dreamed of, who you finally deserve? Now, I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to show you the truth no man would ever tell you. The real reason you've failed with men again and again and are going to keep failing unless you listen to what I have to say right now. My name is...
Women in the United States and in Western Europe are the freest and most liberated in human history. In many ways, they are not merely doing as well as men, they are doing better. Women's emancipation is one of the glories of Western civilization and one of the great chapters in the history of freedom. So why then are those in the women's movement, such as the leaders and members of activist groups like the National Organization for Women, the professors in women's studies departments at our colleges, and many women in the media, why are they still so dissatisfied? These feminists hardly acknowledge women's progress. Yes, they concede that some advances have been made, but the fact that most women reject their activist brand of feminism and think of themselves as free is, for this crowd, proof of just how entrenched patriarchy and inequality truly are. Women are so oppressed, they don't even know it. Year after year, these activists make claims about women in violence, women in depression, women in eating disorders, women in workplace injustice, to support their views. Over the years, I have looked carefully at many of these claims, and what I have found is that much of the supporting evidence, mostly victim statistics, is misleading and often flat out wrong.
Now we are. Welcome back to Hannity Combs. Now, new tonight, the New York Times just reporting the identity of the escort allegedly hired by Governor Spitzer. The New York Times reporting the woman who goes by the name as Kirsten is 22-year-old Ashley Alexandra Dupre of New Jersey. We're now joined by, I'm sure this will come up, by the way, Dr. Laura Schlesinger, author of the new book, Stop Whining, Start Living, which we'll talk about in just a moment.
Now, the same paragraph with... Never mind.
What's that? All right, so you're on some morning show today, right? The Today
Yesterday,
Show? Yesterday?
Yeah. Yesterday, I was Today.
All right. And you talk about this whole incident. And you
actually, I never did, and that was the point.
Well, they asked you about it.
They asked me in general terms why men cheat.
Right, and you talked about...
And I said, I can't talk about the Spitzers because I don't know anything about them.
Okay, but you did talk about the whole issue of cheating, and you said that the wife does not focus on the needs and the feelings, sexually, personally, to make him feel like a man, to make him feel like a success, to make him her hero, and those kinds of comments. You said the cheating was his decision to repair what's damaged and to feed himself where he's starving. Sounded like you're making excuses for men who cheat and blaming, and you're not hearing this for the first time, that you're blaming the woman when a man commits adultery.
You know, I was here for the Proper Care and Feeding of Husbands book, and we discussed this then. When women ignore, neglect, don't nurture, don't love, don't kiss up, don't do all those wonderful things for their husbands, they're more susceptible. That doesn't mean they are not responsible for their actions.
Isn't it the jerk who cheats on his wife? Doesn't the responsibility lie with that adulterer and that man who makes that decision?
For cheating is his. The responsibility for mistreating her man is hers.
And just because a man cheats does not mean he was mistreated. He could just be a horny guy who... Oh,
as I said,
you never heard that word before?
As I said, if he's narcissistic, sociopathic, then all bets are off.
Right.
Then he's a jerk.
And aren't most men who cheat on their wives fall in that category? They're either narcissistic or they're not respecting their wives?
No, the wives haven't been respecting them. And it's interesting because in my book... Well, two things I want to tell you about call girls. In that book, The Proper Care and Feeding of Husbands...
You could tell me a lot more than I could tell you, probably.
I'm glad to hear that. But, in the book, I got a letter from a call girl, an ex-call girl, who said that most of the guys are married who come to her. Very rarely is it to have sex. Most of the time, it's to have some woman actually pay attention to them. And today they had a hooker on the Today Show who was asked, what would you suggest to a woman if she thinks her husband is seeing a hooker or having an affair? Yeah. And the call girl said they should put extra effort into making their own relationship stronger and closer.
Because when you look at this new survey that came out, AOL and Women's Day surveyed 3,000 married women. The numbers were astounding. This came out the other day. More than half of the women said they weren't sure they would marry their husband again, and a third said they would definitely not pick the same spouse. Did that surprise you?
No. The book I wrote before this was The Proper Care and Feeding of Husbands. And I want to tell you that from the time I've spent on the air talking to women who crumb about their husbands, how many of these, one question they didn't ask these women, would you want to come home to you?
Oh, right.
I think the vast majority of these unhappy women are bad wives.
Why is that?
Why are they bad wives, or why do I think so?
Yeah, why are they bad wives? I mean, 3/4 of them admit to keeping secrets from their husbands.
Yeah, well, you know,
is that okay?
If they're spending secrets like what? That I'm hungering for the guy next door? I mean, what kind of secrets are we keeping from the person who's supposed to be our most intimate, our best friend, and the one we can really trust with our souls? What are you keeping secrets from them for?
What about the 75% of women who said they fantasize about another man?
Well, you know, Burt Lancaster, when he was 30, comes into my mind now and then.
So is that is that okay, or is that detrimental?
If he's planted in my brain 24 hours a day, that's detrimental, because I've asked a lot of men, okay, you see the cute honey at work, and, you know, you don't know any of the other stuff. She's just looking cute and adorable and wonderful, and she's sweet, and she has makeup on, and her hair is done, and you're thinking of your wife, and you're going, aye. But my question to you is, how much time do you spend thinking about how your wife touches your face and looks dreamily into you and says, you know, I love you and I really appreciate that you worked so hard today so I can take care of the kids. I mean, how much time do you spend thinking about what you give your wife? Do you turn your wife into a honey? One of the things that's in this book is both male and female looking at the husband and wife. How do you help make her feel like more of a woman? Who thinks about that?
What is it that women want from their husbands?
Well, when I did this research, I thought I was going to find the metrosexual stupidity and that I was going to have to really rail against it, and it's not what I found. Feminism, PC stuff, the stuff in the media notwithstanding, women want a strong man they can count on who'll protect them, provide for them, and lift them off their feet and carry them up a flight of stairs into the bedroom. You know, Gone with the Wind, isn't that the best scene? Do you know? Can you think of one woman who wouldn't want that trip?
And what do men want from their wives?
They enjoy our softness and our sweetness and how we take the rough edges off life and their own masculinity. They look forward to us taking a house and making it feel like a home. All the soft, gentle things. And you know, we don't have to give up being smart or competent at things to be a sweet woman to our men.
You say it's pretty simple. You say to reflect on the touching and the spectacular moments. What you're really talking about is sort of changing our mindset towards marriage.
Well, I think, I know as a talk show host and as a shrink, this is probably going to sound, you know, sacrilegious. But I think there's way too much communication with words. In my section, when I talk about communication, the first thing I say is shut up.
I like that. Edit yourself.
Yes.
You also say to think about how to provoke good moments.
Yeah.
How do you create
Provoke
that?
good. Well, just like what I was saying. Or getting into bed with your dearly beloved and saying, would you like your hands rubbed?
Nice.
Or saying, you know what, I noticed today that there were flowers on the table. With all that you had to do today, honey, it's so nice that you stopped to put flowers on the table because I came home and it just relaxed me. You create these moments by pointing out and looking for these small things instead of...
It's just as easy to go that way as to nitpick about the small things. It's just as easy to be nice
talk about the good things.
Yeah.
It's actually harder because we're more set to be irritated.
Right. Dr. Laura, we could talk all day. And maybe you'll just have to come back.
But instead
Happy
we'll
to-
just hold hands.
There you go. Because we don't want to over-talk.
Yes.
Right? You can read an excerpt.